7:05, we'll call the borough meeting to order. Michelle, will you read something?
This is a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Keyport, Tuesday, April 18, 2023. Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting, as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the annual notice, which has been posted on the bulletin boards filed with the Borough Clerk and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Independent, and the Star Ledger.
Thank you. Michelle, will you do the roll call?
Councilmember Demarest.
Present.
Councilmember Riley.
Here.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Here.
Councilmember Pepperoni. Councilmember McNamara.
Here.
Council President Davidson.
Here.
And Mayor Aranio.
Here.
Thank you.
Will you join me for the pledge of allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first up we're going to have is a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. Whereas there are 2 million youth aged 17 and younger living in New Jersey, whereas it is estimated that 1 in 100 children experience abuse. Whereas childhood maltreatment and abuse are traumatic events that increase an individual's adverse childhood experiences, which without intervention can result in a lifelong negative emotional, physical, educational, and social health outcomes. Whereas child abuse is a public health crisis, whereas all children deserve to be nurtured, protected, and free from physical or emotional harm. Whereas the state of New Jersey and the New Jersey Department of Children and Families believes that healthy families raise healthy children. Whereas the state of New Jersey offers a robust continuum of community-based child abuse prevention and intervention programs that are culturally competent, strength-based, and family-centered. Whereas noted by the United States Administration for Children and Families 2020 review of Child Protective Services, across the nation, the rate at which children are maltreated in New Jersey is lower than the national average. Whereas in New Jersey, the rate at which children continue to be maltreated following an initial child welfare intervention is significantly lower than the national average. Whereas all sectors of the community, including law enforcement, medical professionals, schools, courts, and media outlets, as well as numerous public and private agencies, have joined forces to promote public awareness and community involvement in keeping children and their families safe, healthy, and connected during the month of April and throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Rose P. Aranio, Mayor, along with the Borough Council, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month in Keyport. We're going to go right into committee reports. Councilmember Demarest.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to have a little fun tonight because everybody's so serious. Oh my gosh, we're going to relax a little bit. Mr. Merlin, Mr. John Merlin, could you tell everybody what the KBBC stands for?
Yes,
Go ahead.
Keyport Bayfront Cooperative. Keyport Bayfront Business Cooperative.
You got it, 100%. Good job. I sat at that meeting the other day, and there was some good things brought up about signs in Keyport. You see some of them out on the roadway there. Also, they're talking about an LED sign, which is something that's, if you go past the high school, you'll see it in front of the high school, something like that as well on the highway. But before I say, I want to congratulate the young men that were awarded certificates that night for their volunteer service to water all the different plants in town during the summer. They were honored that night, so I'd like to, again, thank them for their service. We have a couple of things I'd like to go over. The KBBC Stakeholders Coffee Social. That will be April 26th. Saturday, May 13th will be the Bayfest, the chili, the chowder, the pirates, and the sheep herders. Let me see what else they discussed. June 15th, date drop for the Woodstock. Woofstock. Saturday, September 9th, the date was changed for I Love Keyport Day, Taste of Keyport. Then Thursday, October 9th was that familiar flaunt that was dropped due to the lack of light, okay? Then there was another thing that was brought up in the meeting that was very, very important. I thought it was great. The mayor suggested we get bigger wreaths and Christmas trees for this town. I'm 100% for that. I think we all should be for that. Okay, so I just want to make sure that was brought up in the meeting and to be discussed, okay? But hopefully that will work out. But anyway, that was the KBBC, and Mr. Merlo, thanks for your definition of that, so we all are aware of what the KBBC stands for. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the Department of Public Works, DPW. We're going to be talking about some things tonight on the agenda. Our supervisor, that'll be a position that's going to be open. They're going to look to fill the level 1 laborer position, possibly seasonal position, maybe not, and also the landscaper that we're going to talk about this evening to start getting out there cutting grass and doing some landscaping in this town. So those are some things that will be brought up tonight. You'll see that on the agenda. But thank you, Mayor, for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Riley?
The Environmental Commission report. So on the Clean Ocean Action held beach cleanup at the Cedar Street Park on Saturday, April 15th. The original date was April 1st, but it was canceled due to inclement weather. The cleanup on April 15th was a success with a lot of attendees. Numerous participants came down to the beach, enjoyed the beautiful weather, as well as keep our beautiful town clean. April 23rd is the scheduled date to plant seagrass in the Cedar Street Park dunes, and planting begins at 11 a.m. Fire Department. Keyport Fire Department would like to thank the Mayor and Council for all their support to the Chaplain and ex-Chief Ray Elroy. And the Keyport Fire Department annual inspection is scheduled for May 20th at Fireman's Park at 4 p.m. All council, mayor, and public are welcome to attend. First aid. The annual Keyport First Aid Volunteer Dinner was held on Saturday, April 15th. The residents of Keyport cannot thank you enough for all that you do for our town. We're fortunate to have such a great group of dedicated volunteers. And they had a total of 373 runs this year so far.
Thank you. Councilmember Vecchia?
For Municipal Alliance, Red Raider night has been moved, which also moves the kite event, and the new date has not yet been confirmed. For the Police Department, Saturday, April 22nd, the Keyport Police Department will be participating in Operation Take Back. Bring your unwanted medications to police headquarters between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Vape pens will be accepted as long as the batteries have been removed, but needles will not be accepted. And on May 18th, in honor of Keyport Police Week, all are invited to come out and say hello to Keyport's Police Department. This will include both past and present. Chief Torres and the Keyport PEA will be hosting a short award ceremony where some citizen awards as well as police awards will be given. Ceremony will be followed by refreshments and community engagement. They are hoping that all can attend. For Harbor Commission, the floating dock has been installed at the boat ramp. The kayak lockers have all been repaired, and the lottery took place with more residents wanting lockers than were actually available, so they consider that a great success. Future dredging can't happen at the moment because of winter flounder spawning season, but we hope to have everything in place to dredge by the allowed date of June 1st. And I have confirmed the support of the Harbor Commission for all items concerning them on tonight's agenda. These items include the stress-free bodies proposal for yoga at the waterfront, the extensions of a canoe to you, and funny girl dogs. And that's everything.
Thank you. Councilmember Methanol?
Thank you. I'll start with Finance. So the Finance Committee has met weekly these past few weeks. As Councilmember Riley reported last month, there's very little wiggle room in this year's budget. The increases to things like public employee retirement system and police retirement system are impacting our budget by at least $80,000 alone. Currently anticipating introducing the budget at the May 16th meeting. Grants, we got an update from Trevor Taylor at CME, who's now handling our grant work, that the borough has been awarded an additional $74,000 for Cedar Street Park through the local recreation improvement grant that was submitted in January. Grant leads me into talking a little bit about NPP. I believe that our VA may have signed a notice of intention today, and that's for the May 25th application for up to $250,000 of funding through NPP. Ongoing work for NPP, the Kearney Street, or also known as the Jack Conway Senior Park, that project is about to commence. That's going to include some concrete work, some trees being planted, some tables, benches, and bench swings, some updated signage. There's some conversation about some potential work that can be done at Beach Park in terms of improvements. There's the continuation of signage and wayfinding Phase 2. That's the decorative street and stop signs that will be planned throughout the summer. Also upgrading wayfinding for the historic Keyport Entry Town sign. Then the Main Street lot, that has come up a lot, but I think we're finally close to the striping being done on that. I don't have the exact date, but I know that Trevor was meeting with those folks this week. Cannabis, the trial in the KGNJ, which is the Canna Grove matter, which was the highway licensing, took place on April 6th. We're waiting for a decision from the judge on that. On April 5th, the attorney had a case management conference with the judge, and a schedule of dates in May and June for submission of briefs from each party was scheduled. Trial for that is July 6th at this time. We should also note that Simply Pure's license has not yet been final approval from the CRC. Converting their license from conditional to annual has not yet happened. Should they happen to receive that final approval prior to the decision of the trial, I believe they still have to wait for the trial ruling anyway. I have no updates from the green team, and I just want to add kudos to DPW on those kayak lockers. I was over there the other day. They really look fabulous. That's it for me.
Thank you. Council President Davidson.
Thank you, Mayor. Nice and short and sweet tonight for everybody. Planning Board, you're looking at the reports. We have a meeting this coming, next Thursday, 7 p.m. here in Chambers. And in the upcoming week or two, we have a redevelopment meeting scheduled to discuss potential plans for our site within the borough. All I have for everybody tonight. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Mayor's update. I just want to state for the record, we're currently in the stages of setting our budget, which Councilmember McNamara has indicated. Our monies are extremely tight this year. We have to be prepared to either make cuts in our budget or find other ways to fund what's needed for our borough. So I just want that stated on the record. I've stated several times in the past council meetings this year, we are faced with a 23% state health benefit increase. This is not the borough's doing, it's a mandatory increase that the state is putting upon us and all across New Jersey. I'm also happy to report that we're down to 3 fire hydrants being out of service. Last year we had approximately 25% or 20 to 25% that were out. This to me is a huge accomplishment for our borough, and as I have updated, there was only 3 that are out, and as we have more information, we'll let everybody know. This I've been pushing for over a year with the rest of the council to make sure that all our hydrants are back in service. Our municipality received a certificate of recognition for the safe routes to school for our commitment to improving our community safety for those who walk, bicycle, or use micromobility. This was our first step level recognition for the New Jersey Safe Routes program, and I just received it. Keyport Recreation, we participated in the Easter egg hunt where there were well over 250 children and over 200 adults that participated. It was well attended, it was a great event for everybody, we had a beautiful day, and I want to thank our full recreation team, council members Pepperoni and Demarest, and Nikki Francis for putting on a great event for all. Library board meeting. The director has met with landscaping to maintain the gardens and are waiting for quotes to come back. The library grounds are mostly gardens now, however, there are some grass areas that the borough landscaper would need to maintain. I've asked our borough administrator to speak to the director on the areas that we will continue to maintain and what the library will be responsible for. The director, this is going to be under new business for the next council meeting, but I wanted to bring this up to everybody. The director has requested a story walk down by the waterfront for another property in Keyport. This would be up for up to 3 months with signage across the area, such as the school or the Henry Hudson Trail. I've sent an email to Councilmember Davidson to look into this for them for county approval of what the steps would be to have it for the Henry Hudson Trail. The Keyport Library will be closed Friday, May 12th for staff development. Keyport Historical Society. I attended the Keyport Society opening of their museum on April 15th. 1 to 3 is their normal hours every Sunday. The society is presenting this season a tribute to the Aeromarine Plane and Motor Company. It's hard to believe that many firsts in our nation were achieved by this small factory. Highlighted during the construction of airplanes for the U.S. Navy, and at one time the plant employed over 1,200 people. After their season opening, the museum, which is located on Main Street, is open Sundays 1 to 3 and tours upon request. And they're looking for volunteers. Keyport has and continues to receive a lot of press. We should be extremely proud of it. April 11th, a local TV station, New Jersey PBS, NJ Business Beat, came out last Tuesday to shoot a B-reel and interview of Keyport. We shot the interview in the Keyport Coffee House and areas outside the coffee shop by the mini park. The interview will be aired this Saturday, April 22nd. The majority of the interview was balancing new developments with small-town charm. Today, actually on 92.7, this great Monmouth County town has been named New Jersey's most underrated small town to move in the entire Garden State. So we should be proud of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we sure are. Okay. Before we open to public, is there anything on the consent agenda for council members? Kathleen?
I have a lot. I guess the first one I have marked off is just for confirmation, 202-23-119, which is the resolution for Keyport to support the moratorium for offshore projects as it relates to the marine animal deaths. I have, I guess, two things. One is, I don't know if there's any kind of a conflict at all, because I know that you're one of the primary sponsors.
I'm a sponsor, but I
Right,
didn't,
so I don't know, is there any reason we can or cannot?
Not legally speaking, but I know that was provided to the mayor from another, not by me, but, I mean, given from me, like I looked at it, because I wouldn't let something go on.
But it was provided by
By
another
another council
town.
president.
Yeah, from another town.
It's similar to other towns, which I don't represent.
Okay. So that's part one. Part two, I guess, is my own personal thing with the legislation, but, I mean, I'm just somebody who doesn't think we stop all of the proposed drilling and things like that when there are other things that aren't being looked at, but that's separate from me. But the main thing was whether or not there's a conflict of interest for us putting a resolution forth.
But there's not.
Okay. Then my next one is just a quick question on the disposition of surplus property. I just wanted to say, are those two items ones that were on our original list, or are these two more vehicles that we came across?
one was missed on the original list,
Mhm.
and then the other was something that the fire department handed in just a few weeks ago.
Okay. That's all going really well. I know we got 62,000, I think, on some of the prior ones. Okay. The lawn cutting and landscaping service, I just have a question because I know in my inbox upstairs, like a month or two ago, I had gotten a proposal, and we probably all did, from another company, and I just wanted to make sure they did not come back and present anything.
I don't know who the other company was.
JPD?
They withdrew.
Okay, all right. The appointment for the borough auditor, I guess I have a question there. I pulled out everything from when we had reorg. And so I guess for me, my understanding is that the borough has a CFO, obviously, who prepares our annual financial statement and our budget, and that the service of the auditor that we hire is specific to what's required by the Department of Local Government Services. So it's very specific, I guess, what that person has to do. So some of the professionals included some services that we wouldn't necessarily need. And then I went back and looked at all the original bids, and so the lowest bid was $23,800 from Oliwa, which is the same company we've used the last 2 years. And then the next one was $26,500, then $28,300, and then $40,000. So the one that's being presented tonight for auditor is the third highest one. And I'm not really sure why we're spending almost $5,000 more in a year where we have a really tight budget for something that is a standard service that I don't think that they're necessarily, they just have to do certain work in certain forms, and wouldn't it make sense for us to go with the lowest?
I can speak to that in part. One best practice for auditors is to switch out usually after two, 3, 4 years, because there are certain auditors. There is a general guideline that you go for, but different audit companies sometimes take a look at things in different order or different fashion. So it is a best practice to switch audit firms. So for me, I don't have an issue with a switch, because if you've had the same company for a few years, it is a best practice. Usually what will happen is the mayor gets to weigh sheet the RFPs that come in, and it's a determination for mayor and council. Not much of my input otherwise.
Okay, so I
And the
guess
CFO didn't have, he had his 2 picks, and the one that you're appointing is one of his picks that he has worked with before. It has a good relationship with them for their working standards.
So I can understand the, rotating every few years, but I also know that in some of our other things we did, if there was somebody we wanted, that we sometimes have in the past gone to them and said, would you work at this lower price? I mean, I'm just saying, because we're sitting here saying we have $5,000 difference, and we're telling people no on so many things this year. It just, I'm throwing it out there.
I wouldn't have an issue approaching the firm that's chosen, and if your resolution says not to exceed a certain amount, if they accept the amount that's not to exceed, they accept. If not, we can amend.
Okay, so we can ask them to, okay.
We actually had done before a couple of the others, and we had asked them to reduce their fees. And one did come down, I got them down 8,000, and then Kim came aboard and she brought them down a little bit more, but they were still higher than all the others. So we can do that, we can go back and ask them.
Update the resolution and see if they want to.
Right.
Yeah, because as currently drafted, you could still ask them to lower it, that the cost not to exceed that.
Right.
So it would be fine.
Okay.
Final contract,
Okay. Not looking to offend anybody in any way, but at the resolution 132 for the planning board, I guess my concerns there, I know that Mr. Merla obviously has knowledge in the field. But I do ask for a little consideration in terms of the optics of putting somebody who is an owner-operator of a significant Keyport contracting business on the planning board. I don't know if that seems to me conflict of interest. I know it's an alternate position, but I also know that the planning board regularly uses their alternates. They are a board that taps into them a lot. And I guess my concern is that he would potentially have to recuse himself on a number of things that come forth. And even as an alternate, then, if he's recusing and they use alternates a lot, I don't know if that's the right thing. And then I do have concern in the community on optics, but that's me. So I don't know.
I don't have a problem keeping Mr. Merla on as the planning board alternate. I've been sitting on the planning board for the past few months, and the person that we did actually appoint as the alternate did not show up at many of the meetings. So in my opinion, he has a lot of knowledge, and he would bring something to the table that many other people that come on the planning board may not have the expertise on. So in my opinion, I feel that he would be the right person to choose for this. And if he has to recuse himself from some other planning board applications that actually come aboard, then I think he can.
Can I make a statement on that too? My thought process in it is I understand the optics part of it, but I also, besides his background, he also has a background in keyboard. And I feel that's the biggest part of having someone on the planning board is knowing the town and the things in the town. So when things are approached, they actually have a response to it, and it's not always, oh, I have to look into that. So that's just, I think for me, that outweighs any of the visuals of it. Like, I want what's best for the town, regardless of how it looks. So,
Right, and I also want to make another statement on this. I hire many people in my job, in my position, and I always look for the best person to be on that, whether I hire them for a reason, for what I'm looking for in a job. This to me is like a job. You're looking for someone to be on the Unified Planning Board for a job. So to me, he is one of the best qualified for this. So that was the reason that I appointed him.
Although, just for the record, there are no qualifications for the planning board.
I understand
right?
that,
Okay.
I understand that, but understanding how to read a blueprint or planning, I mean, I've seen where people are opening their packet at the meeting and you can see everything was still folded. I want somebody that's actually gonna dive into it, and that's important for me.
And we'll make sure to communicate with the attorney regarding, to be careful about conflicts, to make sure that Mr. Merlo is advised of same. And there's training too, right? You've all gotten your training, right?
No, I'm taking it.
Okay, take your training.
Yeah.
Because that's also helpful as an individual board member for you to understand those rules and regulations.
Resolution 134 just needs to be redone because it's conflicting information. It looks like maybe it was copy and pasted. This has to do with the yoga. So it says that she agrees to pay $750 for the stated time, which this says ending October 28th. Her paperwork says completion by October, so it's a month different. It's the $750, but then down in the body of the resolution, it says the borough authorizes the execution of the agreement with stress-free body at a rate of $75 per class. That is not what this comes out to. This comes out to $10 a class, basically. So I think that that wording is from when the reverse was in place and we paid you $75 each class and we collected the fees. So there's a misprint in here. It's saying we're charging her $75 a class in one part, but then in the other that she's paying $750. So it just, it needs to be cleaned up.
Kim, do you know the full
Yes.
scope of this?
So what I would just suggest is that the dates went by the proposal, which I think the 26th was the end, was the last.
The end of September, right?
I thought that on one of the
I think it
proposals.
usually goes a little further if there's makeups.
Yeah, so that's where we covered in case there were makeups in October.
Okay, because I looked at
Yeah,
the proposal and I just
yeah.
saw completed
Yeah,
by
there was like a
October.
makeup date, yeah. And then we could just change the 75 to 750 for the season.
Mhm.
And then that would make it correct.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's anything else, I didn't go through the full detail and the rest of that, if that was all also copy and pasted, if there's anything else in there that should just be double checked in that bottom part, where that $75 per class is. And then, I'm nearing my end, folks, but you know, I know that I go through this with a fine tooth comb, you know that's what I do, so. The other item on here that I wanted to bring up is Resolution 140, and that is authorizing the borough's participation in the Cub Scout Hat Street Community Garden Community Service Cleanup. And they have submitted a date and time, and they have had zero communication with the garden club or with the community. Those people pay for their spots, they have work parties there. It's not for anybody to just show up and start doing work. And as I said at the last meeting, Scouts have worked with the community garden numerous times. They built the shed there with the living roof. They built, you know, high raised beds for handicapped people, but they don't just show up and do something, and there's zero communication, so I'm not really sure what that resolution is, and I would encourage that troop to reach out to the garden club and the community garden.
Kim, can I ask a question on that? That community garden, that's the Borough property and we lease it to the garden club? Do we lease it to them?
I don't have the specifics in front of
Do you
me.
know?
I would have to find out the
I
specifics.
asked my husband to get the original documents, but it wasn't going to happen before the meeting.
Yeah, so the borough should have adopted either an ordinance, it should be an ordinance of where they're gonna lease out the property to, which the borough attorney has agreed to. I don't have any of that documentation. Otherwise,
It was
really,
around
there should be no money
2014.
collected.
Yeah.
It would have to come to the borough.
So the money goes to the Borough or it goes to the garden club?
I believe it as of right now, it goes to the garden club, right? And
So then it
then
has to be a lease then,
there
correct?
should be a lease. There should be a lease. Otherwise,
It was around 2014, 2015. I just, you know, that didn't.
So I have one more
Research
question.
it.
So if anyone gets hurt on that Borough property, we're liable for it? not
I
the
would
garden
imagine
club?
if there's an existing lease that the garden club has liability insurance.
Okay.
Do they?
The community garden is a subset of the Keyport Garden Club, so they would be covered by
Okay.
under the garden club.
Just
Yeah,
so
we
that
would
I
have to
know
be
for my
named
own-
on the liability certificate, which I would imagine we get every year. We probably should check into that though, but if not, then yes, it would be under the borough insurance.
All that or what?
Well, if they reach out, do we have to, if they've done it in the past practice, is it fine that they continue to help?
Well, it's this troop, I don't believe has.
Oh, it's a different group. Okay.
Yeah. So, and there's not a specific project or anything, and I mean, we're talking that's in a week. So I would think it should be pulled.
Anybody else?
I kind of agree it should be pulled. I think it was kind of, I don't know what the reason was behind the date and getting it done so quickly. I understand there's coordination with the Cub Scouts and all, but if the garden club hasn't been discussed with them, and then people lease out, not lease, but they have their own boxes. If somebody were to go in and pull something out without proper guidance, I think that's, we're setting ourselves up for possibly not a good relationship without clearly defined guidelines of what to do and when. And it seems like there's a few things that need to be ironed out before it could really take place. I think it's a great idea, I just think it needs to be a little bit more thought through.
Anybody else? Yeah.
2023-128, the scenic view landscaping. I see all the parks are listed except the Main Street Park.
Yeah, so any borough property that's not listed on this proposal or award, the DPW will be handling those properties. I said with the acting supervisor, and we thought it would be a good task to have the DPW take care of some of the properties.
Oh, I do actually have another question on that. The proposal that the borough put out, the second part listed the senior center and I guess the library, I think. But, and they put prices in for that, you know, $5,000 to do those two properties. But then in their alternate stuff, where they listed stuff like potentially watering and the rain garden and the post office, they again included the senior center. So are they fully aware that they already included
We
the
have to
senior
do-
center at the
yeah.
other, in the other
Yeah,
part?
they are. In
Okay.
fact, we have to do a drive around. If this goes through, we'll do a drive around, meet in my office, go over the property.
Okay.
I have a question also on that. Is fertilization of lawns on there too?
So there actually is a company that's contracted with the borough that is True Green. It's under the threshold in doing our research and doing some audits. It turns out that True Green actually is the company that will be doing that.
Okay, great, thank you.
I also, yes, and 128 as well. Last year, we purchased a good amount of landscaping equipment to be the DPW, had somebody in-house doing it, and then because we didn't have a contract, so our DPW guys are going to be using the same equipment to work on the other areas that Scenic View was not going to be.
Correct.
And is that the part-time person in DPW is going to be doing this?
That is up, I don't oversee the day-to-day operations, so that would be up to the acting superintendent
To put whoever
Yeah.
at the time on that, but they're all going to be working in conjunction. So is DPW going to be managing the sprinkler system, turning it on, turning it off?
I would imagine, yep.
They should be doing
yep.
all that. Winter snow plowing. I know we're just getting out of winter, but is there any possibility that they have any sort of contract for snow plowing or clearing in the event that we needed if we get hit with a massive storm?
Can I address that now? Okay. So I've met with Monmouth County to look into the main roads in town for brining and salting and certain plowing services. John Sabia came out, took a look. They're offering help as we need it, and we also will need to take a drive around. Hopefully we have a superintendent by that time, right? So that's something that they might have an idea with. If you have somebody with a certain background, I've already broken down the town into 3 sections of how, it's almost how property maintenance is working as well. And we'll do run-throughs to see how quick, you do like these drive-throughs through town to see how fast it would be, what roads if the county did. So yeah, we're working on all that, and if we need to contract somebody, we will. It's probably a good idea just to put out for an emergency contract in case there is a larger storm and it's something that we just can't clean up on our own.
In the past, we've been stuck in coming into October not having a plan or a backup plan, and then we get stuck with labor, so I just want to make sure
Yeah, no, I'm
that
already working
we're
on
way
that.
ahead already. Excellent. On Resolution 122, the emergency sewer repair systems, is this a common practice?
I don't know about here for the borough, but this is the proper way to act if this happens. Any money that goes out for reimbursement should be done by resolution, so you have knowledge of what happened. Per your ordinance, your responsibility falls on the homeowner for a certain section of the lateral, and then you have a certain section that's the borough. When the sewer workers go out, if they take a look and the main's flowing, it then would seem like it was the homeowner's issue. It turned out that it wasn't. It was actually ours, but their plumber had, taken care of the issue, and so now we have to reimburse them.
Okay. I understand it's the right thing to do.
Common, no, but can it happen? Yes.
There are often times where this happens, and then I don't know if residents know that this is a possibility, but I know there's some significant things that have happened to residents' homes that are part of the borough issue that they've paid out of pocket for significant.
Well, those types of issues, there's a difference in those types of issues, and the borough, that goes under actually the homeowner's insurance plan if there's something where
Okay.
there's damages, you know.
Okay. All right. Resolution 138, the storage locker on, I think it's Main Street Park. So I'm confused by this one because I thought we had an extensive conversation last year regarding the use of Main Street Park and for practice purposes because of the depth of the field and not being able to swing the bat a certain way, and we can't swing overhand because the ball flies too far and there's a playground and the netting. So if we're putting there the lockers, do we know for a fact that the school's actually using these fields for current practices?
It should
Because I know that they also have lockers in other parks that they use for practices, so they use all of them for all the softball and baseball.
Yeah, they should be, based on what they.
Based on what it is.
So my understanding is they use it for practice only, they're too small for games.
Right.
Correct.
And they're fully responsible for all the maintenance, the graffiti, anything that happens to it, they're fully responsible for anything that happens to the
For
locker.
the box,
Yes, we put that in there.
yeah, it's
It
in the
is
whole
correct.
park.
It is in there.
Just
Yeah.
make
There's an
it,
agreement.
I saw it and I just make sure it's covering the full.
Oh, we didn't.
Yeah, we made sure that was in
There
there.
you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we made sure.
Just for your body, the locker, the started listening. I think that was all that I had.
I want to make it note that Councilmember Pepperoni has arrived, so is there anything that you wanted to discuss on the consent agenda? Okay, anybody else? We have a motion to open to the public for 5 minutes only on resolutions and communications.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay. Andrew?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. I have some more questions about this sewer repair. So the borough is responsible for the lateral that's between the main and the property line, is that so?
I think that's correct.
Is there a
We
way?
get the engineer to make sure, but I believe that is.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. There's usually a clean out or something that
Yeah.
delineates it.
So if the homeowner makes repairs to the town's portion of the lateral, they can get compensated for that?
It's not for just repairs, it has to be an emergent situation that would impact public health and safety. So they shouldn't actually go into the town location at all. It's not that they repaired the borough line, it's the fact that the borough line damaged their line. Our portion was the one that was damaged, not theirs. Yeah. So it went back, and they had to work on their part of the sewer damage. And when the DPW went out, it turned out that it was ours.
So the town's portion was damaged?
Yeah, it was creating the issue for the resident, not vice versa.
What was the issue, if may I ask, that was caused? I made sewer repairs because my sewer's backing up.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if I can apply for compensation for repairing the town's lateral.
If your plumber says that it was the borough's problem and not your problem, but I'm
I
sure
mean, it's
that
both our problems.
Okay.
I've got a long sewer lateral. So how would I make an application for those repairs?
Certification from your professional that did the work.
And then what, who do I give that to?
Come give it to me.
Okay. I mean, what kind of certification? I have video, I have an invoice about the problems.
Yeah, and then they could write a letter saying what the issue was, how it was the borough's problem, but I can't guarantee that it would be reimbursed because at that time you didn't call us out.
I called the borough out when I had sewer back up and they said it was fine.
We can talk about it if you want to contact me tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Jack.
Max Straw, 235 Main Street. Excuse me. Councilmember McNamara, please don't ever apologize for being thorough.
Yeah.
Your preparedness is noticed and appreciated by everyone, so thank you. I will have a couple of things. I'll start with what Councilman McNamara mentioned about Joseph Merla. I would agree that it appears to be a conflict. The fact that he is involved in many businesses in town, which may come before the planning board. My first question is, who appointed somebody that didn't show up for meetings? What was the vetting that was done for that person? So, I mean, when Joe Merle was proposed, did anyone go back and look at how many times his associated companies were before the planning board in the past? There's no question that he's qualified in terms of his knowledge of Keyport and things like that, but again, there's an appearance of conflict that I just hope that before the decision is made, all of those things are fully vetted. Secondly, excuse me, 2023, 125 and 126, I'm confused unless I'm reading this wrong. It looks like we're going back and awarding $51,000 to last year's attorney. This is an attorney that was hired previously, contracted, Borough fulfilled the contract, and now after that attorney's no longer here, you're going back and giving her another $51,000, particularly given the problems we're having upcoming with budgeting. I don't understand how that exists.
Would you like me to answer you now?
I'd love to.
This professional was awarded a contract in 2022 out of the 2022 budget. The invoices had been submitted to the borough in September, October. Prior administration knew about the invoices. Unfortunately, they didn't come to terms and fully come to the conclusion that they needed to be paid until the current council came in, reviewed the invoices with the CFO, and it was found that this professional was due this money. So the money does not come out of the 2023 budget. It was reappropriated out of the 2022 budget. That's why at the last meeting, there was an appropriation of funds transfer.
For where did it come from?
Other departments that had leftover money. So what happens is, instead of it going to the reserve year, you cancel out that reserve and reappropriate it to the current line due the money.
Okay, so so what you're saying basically is this is money that was owed to this attorney.
Correct.
But how did the council miss that?
The council didn't miss it, it wasn't brought before us.
Whose responsibility is it bring before the council?
Administration.
I'm sorry?
Administration.
We're going in circles here.
There's no circles.
You weren't here.
Clear.
Right.
So last
Right, but that,
She has all of the documents from the last administration that she was able to pull up.
the last administrator, you mean the last administrator?
I mean, yes.
Okay,
yes.
because the last administration includes members of the day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
The last borough administrator. Okay.
Correct.
All right, I understand. Two more things. The detail was not in a Canoe to You extension of their agreement and the Funny Girls LLC extension. This comes up every year. The dollar amounts aren't in there. The thing that's been raised in the past, and again, I can't see the dollar amounts, but hopefully you take them into consideration before you make your decisions. It looks like, based on the space that's being used and rented, it looks like Canoe to You is getting the deal of the century every year. And it looks like Funny Girl is paying through the teeth to have her little hot dog stand there. And I think last year when this came up, when it looked like Canoe to You wasn't going to be given their renewal, I think people from the Harbor Commission came in, all threatened to resign, and next thing you know, he got his renewal again. But he's got to build it. I'm not saying he doesn't provide a service, he does. But for what he gets, that building, the use of the building and all of that, when you look at the charge, and again, I can't see the charge, it's not in there, but based on what happened last year, it looks like he's getting a tremendous discount versus what the woman that has a hot dog cart gets. So I hope all that has been looked into.
Well, it's a different fee than last year, correct?
Again, I can't see the fees, they're not in the documentation. But I would just hope that before you make your decision, that you look at those fees and see if there's some kind of balance there. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Morella, 34 Broad Street. Regarding Resolution 140, I came to the last council meeting on April 4th and made the council aware that I was bringing forth a letter from the Scouts. We've heard testimony tonight through a report that the Scouts have done work before on that site with no borough approval. In 2014, the borough did that by a motion, giving the garden club a temporary garden club. Temporary, okay? That was the resolution. It's now 2023. Regardless of how you cut it, that is borough property. The borough owns that property, okay? Not the garden club, not the Elizabeth Street the vegetable patties, whatever they are. I'm telling you, it's borough property. And tonight, you're voting on a landscape contract that lists that property as a borough piece of property. It says that we're responsible for cleaning it every 2 weeks. The borough, the landscape company, borough owned. To take it a step further, the tax office has up in its office borough properties for sale. That property is listed. So obviously in the past, we didn't follow the rules that we should have been. I thought it was the better thing to do is to come before the borough first, get their approval since it's their property, and then allow children of the community, that age group between 10 and 15 that are standing on corners, I'd rather see them in the garden cleaning that mess over on Elizabeth Street, okay? And everybody knows what that was, that property. There was a 90-foot water tower on that property. So in 2014, when the council decided that they were going to give the garden club, there was no soil testing. Still, there's no soil testing. Bottom line is, I think it's a great idea to have a community garden, but I also think it's very important to keep it clean, keep it organized, and to get the youth involved. Why wouldn't you want the Scouts of Keyport to go in there and assist? They've done it in the past without borough approval. It's borough property. We own the property. The borough should have a key to that lock on the gate. The borough should have access to 24/7. And most importantly, it's illegal for any organization to collect rents on borough pieces of property. It's the borough who gets it. And then if the borough decides they want to contribute it to the garden club, that's how you do it, okay? So believe me when I tell you, that's how it's done. Go do your homework like I did mine. Right now, we're saying we got plenty of time. Well, the garden club put out applications saying March 1st was the deadline to get your plot. Then they extended it to April 1st. So we don't have time. Time is of the essence. Let's get it cleaned up. Let's participate. Let's be due diligent and get it done. On resolution...
Mr. Merlin, can I just address
Sure.
that at the last meeting?
Yes.
Very similar conversation.
Mhm.
And the one thing I said to you is, the courtesy to do is to go to the Elizabeth Street Community Garden, as the prior troops have done, to see what is the need, how can we help. The one group built the shed with a living roof. The other ones built extended raised gardens for handicapped people.
Good.
So to just say we're showing up on a certain date without any, what are you doing?
Cleaning the property?
But
What-
that's not, there
that's the letter
are,
says.
there are work parties that garden has. They're kicking their season off. So why wouldn't you have a courtesy?
You don't think it's courtesy to get borough approval first? Today's the
No,
18th.
but why
This is
wouldn't
the
you do that?
29th.
Why doesn't anybody reach out to the community garden?
Well, honestly, why didn't you?
I asked the community garden, was anybody contacted by this troop? And I've asked the garden club, nobody's been contacted. So that's the disconnect.
I don't think that's a big deal, to be honest with you. I think this is the thing. It's borough property. The borough approves who goes on it and who doesn't go on it. The
So,
borough,
Mr.
the,
Morrow, that's what I'm looking for right now. I'm doing the 2014 year to find that out. So we'll look at that to
Okay.
make sure
that's fine.
there's not this dispute, because I'm concerned now
Okay.
that this hasn't been approved, which is fine. If it wasn't approved in some way, we'll take care of that in
Right.
the next meeting too.
Okay, that's fine. That's
And
fine.
the Elizabeth Street Garden is not on the landscaper list.
Yes, it is.
I have it in front of me, the one that we put out.
Well, I have it in front of me
Cedar Strip,
too.
Benjamin, Veterans,
It
Teresa,
also
Carney,
said-
Fireman's, Waterman's, Waterfront, and Beach Park, in terms of what we put out for proposal.
No disrespect, but it also says borough-owned properties in the specifications, and number 1, Community Garden Center, Elizabeth Street.
Then we have different lists, because what they bid on and the properties that were listed.
Well, it also says that the Keyport Garden Club and the borough administrator will have a representative with all the plants that are watered in town. That hasn't happened in the last 2 years. Volunteers have done that through KBBC. My other concern, Mrs. Flynn, while you're looking at that,
Yes.
I have a question regarding one of the 124, appointing Bauman as the special cannabis counsel. Is this going to stop? This litigation's getting very expensive for the borough. How are we going to recoup these funds? Are we going to recoup these funds? I mean, no disrespect, but I think we were put in a very bad predicament by the state of New Jersey. I don't think they gave us a lot of time and a lot of good answers, and I think now we're faced with litigation. We have other applicants that want to come in, and you have people fighting, and the borough is going to wind up like we're just going to keep shoveling money, to fight this litigation, which I think is crazy. I really do, because we were put in this situation not because we wanted to be, but because the state put us in this position, and I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers of Keyport. We just keep throwing money to fight this litigation. It's got to stop, because you're going to be here another month from now, and they're going to need another 17.5 and another 17.5.
Yes,
It's just,
and just so we're clear, because I think I agree with those sentiments for any town that's in this position, having not given, and I think they did a great job trying to do what they did with little information from the state, but I did request, I just want to make sure it's clear, as soon as I got in, I did request some coverage from our insurance carriers, like we would normally request anytime a borough gets sued, and they've declined coverage. I haven't given up my fight.
okay, that's good.
But you're right, John.
Thank you.
Elmer?
Albert J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Borough Council. Resolution 2023-120, the emergency temporary appropriations. Does that have something to do with our possible tight budget that, we're going to adopt? Why do we have to have emergency appropriation?
Okay, so I did prepare something, because I'm not sure, this is usually something that's done every year,
Right.
and it should be done if your budget's not adopted by April. So if you look at New Jersey State's annotated, section 40A4-20, it says a municipality may lawfully appropriate 26.5% of the prior year appropriation for continuity in government at the beginning of the fiscal year, and do so again after the first quarter, if the budget is not adopted or until the budget is adopted.
Okay.
So that's what it is. It's because we don't have an adopted budget. It's just that's the title that they call it. So what you do is you run off of last year's budget appropriations, and you slowly increase the percentage, but you cannot surpass what you're looking to adopt in your current year budget.
Okay. And in regard to our tight budget that we're going to adopt this year, and this has something to do with down there in Trenton too, with the with the cost and healthcare increased cost, which I find is inexcusable, because it'll affect a lot of towns and boroughs in our great state of New Jersey. Is there any possible thing, I know you're doing all you can down in Trenton, some, well, discipline, I'll say. You're doing all you can, I guess, are you doing all you can to stop this increase, this proposed
Actually,
increase?
Elmer, every mayor is faced with the same 23% increase.
Mhm.
Some have gone out on their own, but they're bigger municipalities or bigger cities that are able to go out on their own. Smaller municipalities such as us, right now it's all on us until, the state does something different. We
Yeah.
are fighting it, and I believe Assemblywoman, not
Yeah, she
Attorney
is fighting, I
Flynn is
believe.
also fighting
But
it.
unfortunately, she does not have enough votes down there in Trenton to, well, they don't control things down in Trenton. The other party, Democratic Party controls it down in Trenton, and it's,
But I do know that a lot of the mayors and councils have reached out to their legislators and expressed a concern about
Right.
this, and there is proposed legislation to help fill that gap.
okay.
And so I think it's an active conversation right now, because I don't think there's many budgets that are being approved, and the ones that are being presented for approval at this
Mhm.
point are including tremendous increases that no one's ever seen before, and
Mhm.
everyone's struggling, so I think Trenton is hearing loud and clear, we need a little help here.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mike?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Regarding resolution number 2023-12 for the Special Cannabis Council.
No, we don't have a 12.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 124.
Okay. Thank you.
I printed it in size 20 font.
That's okay.
I still struggle with it. Okay. How, is this being funded out of our general fund right now?
Yes.
Okay. Have we set up a special tracking case so that we can follow and keep track of these expenses?
We've asked our CFO to actually create it as a line item in the budget. And has he done that?
He has not. No, but we can, we know what line we're putting it in.
Right.
All right, so we really, good business practice, set it up as a special case, track it, and so downstream we can figure out how we can charge it to the cannabis business.
Yeah, we addressed that last year with Mr. Fallon. We'll address it again.
So what happens is, we're not allowed to create a new line appropriation until the budget's adopted, and at that point, we will allocate all to that line item that we create.
All right, so you're gonna have a line item for this legal expense.
Yes.
Correct.
And now, for Resolution 2023-125, the increase in the authorization for the Labor Council. What happened that we need almost a 30% increase in what was?
I can, this was prior to my taking over the position, but there were personnel issues that the Labor Council had to deal with. I can't go much further into it than that.
So did we know this was happening as it was going on?
Well, I would imagine that the person sitting in my seat before me did, because they had to utilize the employment council.
But as on the finance committee, he didn't know that it was exceeding that, am I correct?
Correct.
Kathleen? So that should be stated for the record that
Yeah.
we did not have that information.
So, any thoughts on a process that we can ensure it doesn't happen again?
Well, it should never.
It should have never happened to begin with.
Yes? And that's why we need to ensure it doesn't happen again. All right, one other resolution. Resolution number 132, the appointment of Joseph Merla to the planning board. A couple of things are interesting. he's an outstanding developer in town. But there's the potential for conflict of interest, and as you stated, he'll have to excuse himself from any case in which he's a developer. But he also, and I think it has to be understood, that he cannot pick up a job on any project that he voted on approving. And so that needs to be understood.
I think he
Secondly,
understands that.
pardon?
I think he understands that, Mike.
Secondly, members of the council, members of the commission have to swear an oath, right? And what does that oath say? It says you're going to uphold the borough ordinances, the federal ordinances, the state ordinances. Now, a member of the planning board needs to be a model in terms of easily verifying that they're upholding those ordinances. What do you see when you drive down First Street at night? You see a whole block lit up. Total violation of the borough ordinance, right? You know what that ordinance is, you just passed it. Light trespassing, the light requirements in this borough. And it's not only his house, but it's a couple other houses that he's remodeled. In addition, his whole front yard, his whole side yard is impervious, paved with pebbles, no grass. That doesn't align with our ordinances. Multiple houses that he's done on First Street have the same issue. It doesn't align with our ordinances. Is this person going to correct these faults and be a model for a member of the planning board and for residents in Keyport as to abiding by the ordinances? And are you going to take action to enforce these ordinances? You swore to. Pardon?
I didn't say anything.
Somebody said something about
I
light.
think it's coming from the back.
Coming from me.
But all you have to do is, and I can't imagine that most members of the council haven't driven down First Street at night.
Yeah, taking pictures.
There's multiple houses that have been redone on First Street. They glow at night. Light up the sky. You passed an ordinance. So, I think JoJo is a tremendous developer, very energetic. He gets things done. But you need to appoint people to the planning board who can execute the ordinances of this town and the land use requirements. And how are you going to ensure that with this applicant? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Kat?
Oh, I'm sorry, I had one other question.
Get up there.
Kathleen McNamara, Councilwoman McNamara, talked about,
Okay.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
No, I said let him finish.
The auditor, and you were talking about the resolution and reducing the amount. Is that a motion that somebody's made? Is that on the table?
We're gonna
We're
go
not
back.
up to that point yet.
Oh, okay,
We
thank
didn't
you.
even,
I recommend you do that.
thank you. Kat?
Sit back down.
Hello, Catherine Galley, 52 West Front Street. First I wanted to say happy and thankful that this made it to the agenda, the timely matter. But disappointed though that there are multiple invalid, I don't know whoever wrote this up, but for the ordinance 134, there is, it looks like people have used things from the past years and combined. There should be no number 2 borough authorization of execution of agreement with SFB at the rate of $75. That is invalid and wrong. There's no payment. There should be no payment, although I'll take a donation. But that is wrong. Maybe that's just from years past. I'm not sure. And the other thing was the date. October 28th was not in my proposal. I was going to.
Was it November?
It's supposed to be, no, just till September. Let me pull up the proposal is just till Labor Day, and then using September, the month of September to October for any makeup or special like mistakes.
So that's why we gave you until that date if you had any makeup.
Okay, that's probably more
Because
than
otherwise
I-
we'd have to come back and get approval to amend the date if the date met.
Yeah, but I think you guys put September, you put October 28th, that's like all of October, which is fine, but I don't think we'll need that. But I'm basically just need the month of September to make up.
I think they're just covering it, so it
Extra
doesn't have to come back.
Okay, that's totally fine, but yes, the number, the compensation is wrong, that's not something that should be in there. So my only concern is this gonna be another month, because then that's gonna put me back.
Could we approve it, like if the council decides to approve it with an amendment on it?
Yeah.
Get that out.
It's a resolution, it's not an ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? George?
George Wallen, 54 Second Street. Jay's name, well, prior borough administrator's been mentioned a lot tonight. Is there any way we can go after this gentleman for negligence? He was hired to protect the borough. Sounds like he did a poor job like he has in the past.
Well, that's a legal question, but we're not gonna answer that about an employee or personnel matters.
Well, is there any way we can go after him?
I'm not gonna provide legal advice here publicly, it's a personnel matter. I'm restricted from, even if someone leaves a town, there's some law out there that you still have to write that person to discuss that person in a public meeting. So the council, the mayor and council aren't gonna do that, nor is the BA publicly. But I'm sorry, because then I would have that employee then sue the mayor and council for discussing a personnel matter without raising them public, as we're supposed to.
Have him sue us $10 more than we're gonna sue him for.
That's a strategy.
Thank you, George. Anybody else? Jay?
Jason Folkins, R, 40 Broad Street, Keyport. Talking up here about R 2023-132, appointment of Joseph Murrow as alternate for the planning board. Yes, I know some people have brought up about other properties that he has done, but when I drive around the town and look at properties he's done, they're gorgeous. His knowledge is beyond unbelievable what he knows. You can actually see his guys that are out cleaning streets and properties, not just in front of his properties, but going 3, 4, 5 blocks down the street, picking up garbage out in the street, and it's not their job. I mean, I think somebody who has as much knowledge as he does would be perfect for the planning board. Councilwoman Vecchio even brought up you want somebody with Keyport knowledge, or Keyport pride, or the know-abouts of Keyport, which he has. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Elmer?
I wasn't about to come back up here so soon, but I'm going to add to that too. Resolution 2023-132 regarding Joe Merle's appointment as, an alternate member. My family has known the Merles for some time, and they are outstanding contributors to our beautiful borough of Keyport, New Jersey, especially John and Joe Merle. And I would have no problem with, Joe Merle is pretty smart as far as building and everything. I would have no problem with appointment to him as an alternative member of Keyport Unified Planning Board. They've contributed a lot to Keyport, and they're still contributing a lot to our beautiful borough of Keyport. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Joe.
Patrick Maroney, 313 Main Street. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Let's see, first of all, the 119, the marine animals investigation, I support that, so. And I kind of suspect that has to do with the wind turbines, but, you know. 131, officers, so, I'm not sure, like, are these 2 new officers that are, you know, in addition to the ones that we hired last year? Or is this from, these are the ones from last year?
These are special officers. They're
Okay.
not sworn in patrolmen. They are special 2 officers who are sworn in. It's a different, it's
For the
it's
school?
a part-time.
Is it for the schools?
Would you like to speak to that, Chief?
So these are special officers. Special twos are part-time officers that often work our extra events and details. There are no costs to the borough to put them through the academy. They do side jobs. We do not keep them. The turnover on special officers is extremely high. Every time we hire 4, we lose 3 more because they get hired into full-time departments. That's why you'll see a large amount of special officers coming on, because we lose 3, we try to put 4 more through the academy to fulfill the extra duty events that we need them for, to offset overtime costs, et cetera, for the borough. So you'll see a large amount of turnover in SLEO 1s. They're looking to be special officer 2s. Special officer 2s are always looking for full-time jobs in alternate departments. That's what these are. They're
I see, so
in place
not pensions or
other
anything
ones
like
we
that?
lost.
Okay. And then I just like, so the emergency, what's being called the emergency funding is actually funding from like last year that's carrying over the, I think
It's not funding
Elmer
from
asked about that,
last
right?
year. So let's just say, it's this year's budget, so we don't have an adopted budget. So what happens is the state allows you to take 26.5% of your prior year budget and move it over to your current year until you adopt your budget. That's supposed to cover 1/4 of your year. So now that we're now heading into the end of April, we need to put more money into the appropriations. Because there's contracts that have to be paid, payroll that has to be paid, and such.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Then the title of it is terrible. It's just a terrible title.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get
Makes
the
you wonder.
state to change that title.
You should show up at a council meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to close to the public?
Okay.
Second, all in favor?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I just have a quick question regarding 135 and 136. So when we discussed this last year, I thought the New to You and the food and Funny Girl Dogs, I thought they were both at $1,500 for the season, weren't they? I know we went, but
I'm sorry, what was that?
For Funny Girl and for Community U, that they were both at 1,500 last year.
Yeah.
I thought he was at
New to You was supposed to be, and then there was like a kind of an uproar.
I know we went back and forth quite a bit, so the $1,000 for Community U and the other at 15 for, they're not equal.
They're not.
And when do those get renegotiated again? Because this is the extension, this is for the full year, and then they have to
So,
come back.
yeah, so this would extend for 2023. And honestly, what should happen is in November, you prepare your concessions to go out, to award out in the beginning of next year.
Okay.
Okay. Does the council have anything that they want to table or pull from the consent to agenda resolutions?
Are we still considering tabling 140 until we get further information all around? Councilwoman McNamara, are we still considering taking 140 for more information from all ends?
Can Councilwoman McNamara actually vote on this, like to table it? Since she's a member, you're a member of it, right? Well, her husband, no, it's not a conflict. Okay, just making sure. So do we have a motion to table resolution 2023-140?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Okay, so do we have a motion to approve resolution R 2023-108 through R 2023-139?
Oh.
Excuse me, we need to just include that we have 2 revisions in there. One is a revision of price for the borough auditor to 20.
Well, that one it says not to exceed.
Right, but I thought we were proposing to do it, decrease the not
So
to
that's what you
exceed
do.
to
Otherwise
the
you
amount of the lowest bidder,
Okay.
23.8.
I thought you guys were giving the ability to negotiate. But if you were gonna
Well-
strike it to that number, then that's.
And then the other thing is the revision that needs to be done on the stress-free body resolution, just clarifying, because some of that was erroneous
The
from a...
750, should have been 750, but if that was a payment due to the borough.
That
line,
language was from the way we used to do the agreements,
Yeah,
so it's
You
like
just
both
remove
wordings
two.
are in there, it's
Remove
just, it's
I would
an
just
easy
remove item
fix.
2.
Yeah.
So we have a motion for R 2023-108 through R 2023-139 with the revision on R 2023-134 and where's the
130.
and R 2023-130.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That needs
You
to be
need
a
a roll call
call.
for that, yes. Roll call.
Councilmember Demarest,
Yes.
Councilmember Riley,
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio,
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara,
I'm yes, but I'm no on 119 and 132.
and Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Introduction of ordinance revising the Barrows Bench Program. Michelle, will you read the ordinance by title?
This is an ordinance of the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, revising the Borough of Keyport's Public Bench Sponsorship Program.
Do we have a motion to introduce?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, Michelle?
Councilmember Demarest,
Yes.
Councilmember Riley,
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio,
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara,
Yes.
and Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
We have a motion authorizing the clerk to forward the ordinance as introduced to the planning board for review and publish the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press for a public hearing.
Oh, Mayor, I apologize, that doesn't need to happen
Okay.
with this ordinance. But it does need to be published for a public hearing, but not referred to the planning board, I'll clarify that.
Okay, so motion authorizing the clerk to forward the ordinance as introduced for review and publish the ordinance in the Asbury Park Press for public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications, 1 and 2, Recreation Committee Program and Activity Planning Summary for Dinosaur Rock, held Saturday, July 8th. Recreation Committee and Activity Planning for Trunk or Treat to be held Saturday, October 21st at the Waterfront Park at 4 p.m. Minutes for approval, October 18th, 2022, council meeting minutes, regular and closed session. We have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Or do we have any abstains?
Abstain.
Why don't you do a roll call? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Demarest,
Abstain.
Councilmember Riley,
Abstain.
Councilmember Vecchio,
Abstain.
Councilmember Pepperoni,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara,
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Reports, 1 through 5, municipal clerk report, tax water sewer collectors report, Board of Health treasurer's report, building department report, municipal court report for March 2023. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Carr, I'd like to ask a question, just to be certain. With that vote for the minutes, is the name?
I know the mayor should keep the tie.
Yeah.
So you can change the tie.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Just want to make sure they're.
Thank you.
We definitely need to get those out.
Do we have any dais updates? Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one is that recently we were awarded $4,200 scholarship to send one of our officers to Celebrate training. This training allows him or her to forensically view, access, collect, and perform comprehensive recovery and analysis of all digital artifacts, to include common items like cell phone, electronic devices. This was made possible after Operation Underground Railroad agreed to financially support this advancement in technology, affording us the opportunity to not strap our own budget. This is an amazing training that will be used on many cases in today's technology and advanced society. So we're really happy that our small town, there's not a lot of Celebrate trained officers in town, in the county even. So we're really excited that one of our officers is going to be afforded this fantastic training. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I did want to just review the emergency temporary appropriations and make sure everyone's good with the titling and what we're doing tonight. I hope everyone understands. I did want to make sure that, I did see that there was some issues that might have come up tonight, and I just wanted to address some of those. I know that Era Marine, the cleanup and waterfront stabilization might have been an issue, as well as redevelopment, and there are meetings scheduled in the next week with redevelopment committee, as well as legal counsel. The Bethany Manor pilot agreement, we are addressing that with legal counsel at the moment. We met about that last week, I believe, right, Vicki? The utility cable maintenance. I know that this is something that a lot of towns struggle with, and stabilization of the poles. Just so everyone knows, the utility companies do send out an audit company. They do check the poles. If you look on a utility pole, you'll see it looks like a little ring, a metal ring, and it has the date that it's actually inspected. So if anyone does see a pole and they have a question about it, you can actually look at that metal ring and it will tell you the date that it was last inspected. If anyone does see any poles that seem unstable, please contact me, contact the police department if it truly seems as an emergent matter. And there should be a pole number that's on those poles. Include that pole number and we'll look into it. What you have to be really cautious about is if the pole has been audited in like a certain amount of time, if you call for an audit on poles, the municipality is charged for that audit because it is a third-party company. When it comes to the lines that are hanging and you see the looped lines or extra wire that's on the poles, and we tend to think that's the electric company. That's usually not the electric company, it's the telecommunication lines. The mayor sat in with JCP&L's government rep and we reviewed the highest line. It's usually the electric line, the other lines are the telecommunication lines. Unfortunately, the utility companies, they don't care to come out and clean up those lines, and that's not a good excuse, but I also cannot have DPW touch those lines because they can be live and you don't know the voltage that's going through those lines. We can put in complaints, we can just keep on the utility company that they belong to, but it is a hard task. But we do keep, the police department does keep track of poles, and property maintenance also is keeping lists of the poles that need to be addressed. So I just want to let everyone know that. For the Henry Hudson Trail, I know there were issues with flooding and some type of debris at times, and we have been in touch with the county for that, and they are reviewing flood mitigation to see what needs to be addressed with that area. And we did put, and we did put garbage cans at three of the entrances that we found would be the best location for those, and we're keeping track of that. We did have a modification to the pedestrian safety improvement project, and this is allowing for the final engineering stages, and that was a resolution that was passed by Mayor and Council that was 2023-49, acknowledging that agreement. The Monmouth County Health Department and Office of Aging came out to Bethany Manor and they offered a program for the seniors that are in the building there. They went over the different services that the county offers. And they also actually had CVS Pharmacy out to assist if anyone had questions about medical coverage or different types of medication, how it should be stored, how you get rid of it. It was really very nice to see. Like I said, it was the Monmouth County Health Department and Commissioner Sue Kiley came out. The mayor had to work that day. I went on your behalf to just say hi to everyone. And then I also wanted, sure.
Will we be able to offer that for Oyster Bay or through the senior center as well? a similar
Sure,
program?
if you just email me and let me know those names of the buildings. That would be great. Monmouth County Health Department also offered employee COVID tests for our employees. So I emailed them back. I said that'd be great. I just don't have a lot of manpower to go pick them up, and they actually delivered them today. So that was awesome. That was only within 24 hours, so that was great. So I'll be getting those to the respective department heads in case they need them. Property maintenance, what we're finding is that the most common violations seem to be abandoned vehicles, fence maintenance, rear garage, and shed maintenance. Garage is my New York accent, sorry. So it seems to be that they also need to be addressing swimming pools, and they're talking to, property owners about maintenance of swimming pools that might not be cared for, where you can have water sitting and debris inside of those. We are keeping track of if there was an issue with a homeless people staying inside of a shed of a property owner, that they were not aware that that was actually what was happening. So we are aware of that issue. We are looking to implement a door knocker program. If there is a violation that's found for property maintenance, you get a door knocker on your door, and then we document it, and you have time to mitigate that issue. And if you don't, then you would get a summons at that point. There was not a program like that that was being used. So what would happen is property maintenance would actually go, bring a copy of the ordinance, try to get the person, or mail it. By the time the person would get it in the mail, you're talking 3-4 days, and it wasn't working. So we think that door knockers will really work well. We did find a few ordinances that need to be revised as we've been going through different issues in town. One is going to be pet waste. That needs to be updated. Bulk garbage placement, and also trees. And this is all verbiage. It's date and times need to be updated. And I will present that to mayor and council to review before any movement on that. DPW gave me a report as well. They did the kayak storage, and thank you for the kudos to them. I did share that with them and had them posted in their room, their lunchroom. They did replace the locker doors. They still need to finish the top portion. 19 out of the 29 vehicles have been picked up. 2 are scheduled for this week. For leaf and branch collections, sections 1 and 2 were completed on Friday. Sections 3 and 4 will start on Wednesday, 4/19. The boat ramp, the dock, the ramps are in. We spoke to the county DPW about dredging, and we gave them all the information. So we're waiting to confirm a date, but as said before, it has to be after June 1st. Garbage cans were put on the trail. It was Beers, Fulton, and Atlantic. Also, I reviewed with the DPW acting superintendent the sweeper schedule. We will be posting that on the website, sharing it on social media, and we want to get that street sweeper out more often. And we are posting a map on the website as well. The skate park, I don't know if everyone noticed there was graffiti that was on in the skate park. If anyone noticed today, we closed the skate park and put a fresh coat of paint on the skate park equipment. We're going to see how that takes to see how many coats we're going to need. Porta-johns have been placed in the public areas where they usually are, and April 25th is when True Green is going to come out and do the chemical treatments. I think that's it.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, just a few things. We've been working with the business administrator
to identify a lot of the engineering issues that are in town. Basically, we're looking at the streetlight repairs, First Street townhouses, waterfront lights, the Maple Place lights. We're looking at the municipal building, the water damage, the lead water service replacements that the state is putting on us. We're looking at stormwater management compliance and LED upgrades to lampposts. Last week, we also had a very good meeting with New Jersey Natural Gas Company and the VA's office on procedures on how to repair the borough streets after they come in and replace their lines. What we did accomplish, I guess, that day was Church Street from Maple Street to Warren. The repair and repaving is going to be from curb to curb with striping, if there's any striping involved with that. We're going to set up a pre-construction meeting with them next week just to go over and confirm what they're going to be doing with their repairs. And we're going to invite the police and public works department so everybody's on the same page when we go ahead and start these road repairs. The repair will be guaranteed for 5 years. If anything happens within that 5 years, New Jersey Natural Gas is responsible to come back and remediate that. That's basically it for right now. We are in the process working with the business administrator to prepare a monthly engineer status report, which will be distributed to the mayor and council. So you'll be updated on what we're doing and how we're addressing engineering issues within the borough.
Thank you. Michelle?
I just wanted to let everybody know that today I received an email from the County Board of Elections advising that beginning Friday, April 21st, they will begin mailing out the mail-in ballots for the June 6th primary election. And if you're not aware, there's a secure locked ballot box in the front of our hall.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have a motion to open to the public for no longer than 5 minutes per person?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody?
Callie?
Callie Delacqua, 139 3rd Street. Thank you, council, Ms. Mayor. I have a quick question. So I'm listening loud and clear. I know that the final decision is for July 6th. Have you discussed at all what the actual, regardless of how it turns out, are you in agreement to open up the application fee at all again?
I don't think we've discussed that.
You haven't discussed it? Okay. Because I know it's new to everybody, but it's almost guaranteed that the cannabis business is not going to disappoint. And it will generate a lot of money for Keyport, which seems like more than half of all the problems in here. Again, I'm for Keyport, that anybody wants to participate with Keyport. We know who loves it. I just hope that, obviously, Ms. McNamara, you know, with the CRC license holder, the clock is ticking. I would love more than anything to keep it Keyport. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
John Brella, 34 Broad Street. So I got this straight. We tabled 140 until the Cub Scouts asked the Garden Club and the Elizabeth Street community how they feel about a cleanup. Because I'm puzzled.
Not how they feel about it, but how can they assist? It's not for them to just go in and randomly start doing work in that garden. If they would like to do what other troops have done, work on a special project, see what the needs are, that would be collaboration. That's what you would expect. It's like me saying, I'm going into our library because I don't like how the books are organized and I think I want to do it a better way. That's not for me to do. I mean, I don't understand what your concern is about having the troop speak to the community garden about what needs do you have? How can we help? We want to do a community service project.
I have no problem with that.
That sounds like you do, though.
No. If I had a problem with it, I would tell you, believe me, and I would go on record. I wouldn't wait 2 weeks like you did after the last council meeting to bring it up. I mean, you know my number. You could have said, hey, John, before you put that letter in, you should get approval. Here's my point, Kathleen. Tonight, you just voted for a landscape contract. Did you make the garden club and the Elizabeth Street Garden community aware that every 2 weeks it's going to be cleaned? No, right? You know why? It's borough property. And the borough dictates who goes on that property and what's approved and what's not approved. The Public Works was going to assist in that cleanup. It's a cleanup, the same thing as your landscape company's doing. So all I'm saying is, it could have been approved with the guideline that the people that supposedly run that are in agreement with it. I'm not saying that they're not going on that property without their knowledge, or no. If it was approved tonight, they would have gotten a letter. The Garden Club and the Elizabeth Street, that's who you pass it on to.
But why wouldn't there be a collaboration? Is that a good date?
Because it's not their property. It's the borough property.
All right, I don't have it.
And the second thing was, Ms. Flynn, all due respect, there was a motion to table, there was a second, there was no roll call, and it was all in favor. And one person said yes, Councilman Pepperoni. So
I thought it was a roll call.
No,
Yeah.
it was not a roll call.
No, not a roll call.
To table.
Yeah, to table. They all
Yeah,
voted
but it's a
to table.
resolution.
But the motion to table is different than a motion to approve a resolution. I mean, I could look it up, but they all voted in favor to table it. I'll look up table
Okay.
versus,
Well-
but I thought they all voted in favor.
So next meeting, it comes back and they're in agreement. First of all, they don't have to be in agreement. It's a courtesy. Yes, and I believe you're right. It is a courtesy that they're aware of, it's a project. But let's flip it around now. You've said they've done projects in the past. Wouldn't it have been a nice courtesy for the Garden Club and the Elizabeth Street to let the borough know people were going on their property?
They may have, John, I don't know, okay? I mean, I'm not that involved with it, but all I'm saying is, we welcome, most places welcome the assist, but you don't why would you have them come with no direction from the people who orchestrate that property as to where they could be helpful? It makes sense to me.
Okay, they'll be notified.
Oh, thank you. We're gonna look into this.
I was gonna say,
I'm still
Mr.
looking for
Merlo,
this lease.
would you have any issue with having whoever is in charge of this cleanup contact me, and we can come up with an itinerary of what should be done? Probably maybe what we could have done is pass the resolution pending the itinerary being received, but I think at least that's a start of finding out what they're offering to even do to see, what's needed, and then address it at the next meeting.
And our borough attorney is actually looking into the Elizabeth Street garden itself to find out, was there a lease, is there something? So she'll pull all the information for that, make sure that it's insured over there and how the funding
we have to
is
have a
coming
hold
in.
harmless. We have a lot.
We have a lot on that one.
But yeah, I don't know if hold harmless exists, rate of entry.
Hi, Maureen Marcel, 39 West Front Street. Can we get the garbage cans back on West Front Street? 2 or 3 years now I've been asking. There was one in front of Jack's newspaper, whatever his name is, my landlord Jay, and one down by Family Treasures, I think, that were there forever. And and suddenly they disappeared. And for 2 years now, I'm talking to the mayor and whoever else about, can we get our garbage cans back? People leave garbage all over the street. Our pots, now I've had a business there for the past year, which I don't now, but I can't tell you every day, almost every day, and especially on the weekend, all day, customers come in. I have a coffee cup, an ice cream cup, a lollipop stick, garbage, lunch, whatever. You have to go all the way down to VRI or possibly across the street down there to McDonald's. We can't get a garbage can. It doesn't look good for the customers, and it's annoying for, you know how much garbage I throw out? And I had a big wash tub in front of my shop, flowered, and everybody else along the street with their little pots full of beer cans, lottery tickets, because there's no garbage can on our street. And then the excuse I got for 2 years before I had the business was somebody who in the apartment threw garbage out in the garbage can. So they want to punish the town by taking the garbage cans off of our street because somebody upstairs maybe threw their personal garbage. That was the excuse I got every time I would ask, where are the garbage cans? Now I had a business, and I'm telling you, I tell go tell the town, there's no garbage, where could I put? Down there or down there. Ridiculous. Now, I took my pot from the store, and now it's in front of my house by Jack's. My little pot waiting for plants to come out at Dearborn so I could put something in there. It's full of beer cans, coffee cups. Like, this is Keyport. We have a busy weekend. We have a lot of people coming to this town to shop, and we can't have a garbage can anywhere from VRI, where there is one, the whole street. Not one garbage can. It's so annoying.
Kim, can you look into that? But there's a couple things I'd also like to look into. By having it uniform, the same garbage cans, not this garbage can and then you've got broken garbage, green, blue,
Whatever it
just
is.
make it uniform.
Yep, I'm emailing myself.
Just, I'd appreciate it.
That way I drive by, I'll drive down.
And also, while you're looking at that, can you also, with code enforcement, just address all of the additional items that are outside of the businesses?
Yeah.
I've seen clothes hanging now on cars. Clothes hanging on cars in front of some businesses, so if we can look into that.
Okay. Andrew?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. I have a couple of questions. Do we have a status update on the curb ramps?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been looking into that. In looking at them, I know a lot of them are new, so I don't want to replace them, so I think I've got a solution, which that we can do that and put in an ADA safe grate in front of them and do it, but I've just got to do a little bit more research to make sure, but those are nice ramps, and
Yeah.
I want to resolve the flooding problem, again, without,
Sounds good to me.
Without ripping them up.
As long as the puddle's not there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. What happened to the bike rack in front of Borough Hall?
We actually removed the bike ramp, it was not being utilized.
I used it.
That's true. Where have you replaced it?
We brought it over to the park,
Which one?
skate park, sorry.
Which part?
The skate park.
I don't understand why you remove it. It gets used. I used it. I mean, you could put a smaller one there. I thought the borough had a policy for being pedestrian friendly. I mean, I think the whole downtown could use some bike racks. I've seen a bunch of bikes laid out in front of the dollar store from the kids. You know, is there a tree in front of Borough Hall?
No, I'm saying they put them, use the trees.
Yeah. So, it's nice to have, but it encourages people to bring their bikes up. Any word on the sidewalk in front of the townhouses on Front Street? It's flooded, it's all messed up, the lights are...
Yeah, we're looking, that's one of the things we're looking into right now, to get that resolved.
Yeah, okay, good,
We
that's all.
want to know who's responsible for it, but
All right,
We'll get it done.
all right, thank you.
Carl Anthony Pena, 260 Rapid Boulevard. Hello, how are you? This is actually regarding the brick labyrinth that the Ask Society, the Art Society at Keyport had put up. And I've been drumming up a collaboration with residents and Ask on seeing if we could get approval to put a semi-permanent sculpture over there. So I'm just trying to follow proper decorum and wondering who I talk to in terms of following the procedure.
Well, you have to submit to the DA and she'll share it with the council.
So the,
Yeah, so if you wanna, you know, if you wanna stop by, if you wanna email me.
right, I'll get some other information.
I actually wanted to speak to you as well about the labyrinth in the park. So yeah, that would be great if we could, yeah, if we could chat, that would be wonderful.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack?
Jack Straub, 235 Main Street. Couple things, I'll speak fast. Michelle, first of all, there is no longer a Bay Shore Independent. It's doesn't exist anymore. The company that bought the Independent a few years back bought a whole bunch of newspapers, and they shut down a number of them, including the Independent, so there's nowhere in there.
Did I mention that in my?
I'm sorry? No. When you read the Sunshine Law, every meeting you read the Sunshine Law, you say notice has been posted
Right.
to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, and the Bay Shore
Oh, the
Independent.
Independent, oh.
There's no more Independent.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Jack.
Secondly, under communications, the two council members that abstained, Councilmember Demarest and Councilmember O'Reilly, is there a reason for the abstentions?
We weren't on council
Wasn't here.
when they happened.
The minutes are from last year, from
I got this from last year, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you very much. Thirdly, glad you mentioned street openings. Main Street was opened on March 20th by the gas company. I thought that was still under the moratorium. Is there a reason, was there an exception why Main Street was open near Hurley?
Well, I said that was an emergency opening.
What was the emergency? That there's a new property going in across the street, and I was told by a neighboring resident that it was done to service the new building that's going to go in there. It's just a for sale sign right now. It's an empty lot, so that doesn't sound like an emergency. I thought emergency was a
Find
gas
out,
leak.
we can find out from New Jersey now.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, we have a meeting with them next week,
Okay.
and thank you, and I'll.
Yeah, I thought emergencies, obviously gas.
Well, emergencies, yes,
Right.
there's nothing we can do about that.
The building was torn down, right where the trail meets Main Street, right by Hurley. Building was torn down. There's a sign there now for sale. It's an empty lot. I understand 2 buildings are gonna go in there. People on the planning board might know more than I do. But the street was opened, apparently to put a new line in, or, I don't know. Didn't seem like it was an emergency.
Main Street, right?
Main Street, right near Hurley, just south of Hurley, on Main Street. You'll see the 4x4, whatever it is. It was done on March 20th, I believe. And then, last thing, again, the council, I mean, you're elected to office, you're gonna do what you wanna do. But I was disappointed that both Resolution 132 and 135 and 136 were approved without any further discussion. Things you table all the time, and I'm never in favor of just kicking something down the road. But arguments were made, good arguments were made for all 3 of those, as to why maybe the council should take another look and at least have some more discussion. You approved the appointment to the planning board with no further discussion amongst yourselves. And then the 2 licenses were approved, even though it seemed like you didn't even know what the numbers were. I mean, I didn't have the numbers, but
We
it,
had the numbers, we had the numbers, we knew what the numbers were.
so what was the discrepancy?
One was 1,500, one was 1,000.
Okay, so the numbers, okay, everybody's okay with those? You didn't need any more discussion on those? Okay, I didn't think those were the numbers, but if you're confident that that's what they were, then that's fine. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi again. I just wanted to say thanks to Ms. Humphrey for giving status updates. Really appreciate that. And I was also gonna ask about the curb ramps, and so I'm really excited to hear that you guys are taking action on that. Let's see, just a couple of sort of aesthetic things. Yeah, I'm a designer, so maybe just, I'm hypersensitive to it, but, you know, like I'm thinking about the park down at the beach. I guess you call it Beach Park. And that's pretty bad.
That is one of
there-
the scopes of the projects for
Yeah.
us to work with NPP on, which
Okay.
we actually just received
Today.
funding.
That was the 70,
No.
No.
Apply, it's a notice of interest. yeah.
oh, up to 250,000, okay. So they would put, you know, maybe a nice new playground or something like that.
And also make it, that everybody can
More
use it.
conducive.
Yeah, conducive to everybody within Borough.
Meaning like age,
Well,
or
yes.
ADA compliant, things like that.
compliant, get rid of the shells that children can get hurt if they fall on it.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot. And part of the labyrinth is part of that park.
Okay, that's
So that's
neat,
something
that's
we're-
exciting to know. I mean, I see other towns like putting in sort of like creative, like playground structures, you know, like what they've done at in Cliffwood Beach. There's a couple of like really interesting playgrounds, right, where they're, you know, they're not just picking the run-of-the-mill thing. It's like they're really putting some thought into it, so it would be great to see some, you know, just interesting design there.
Yeah.
And then those trees too that they planted for the World War I memorial, you know, those are about half dead. And, you know, I don't know if it was the wrong trees were planted or they weren't watered last year or something. I know it was a tough year last year for a lot of, you know, plants, but those are not, I don't know if those are gonna come back.
That whole park.
Can you tell me?
Which is a shame. So there's I think 11 trees that were,
It's, you remember where the shells were
Yeah.
when you were walking?
yeah.
Oh, okay, right here.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's good to know. And then the other, you know, kind of aesthetic thing is, you know, Main Street Park is so awesome. You know, I live near there. It's just that street there, Butler, you know, I've been hearing that that's gonna get paved for, you know, 4 years now or something. That's really rough looking. And then there's a lot, you know, behind it that's vacant with a trailer sitting in it for the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. You know, I've heard that was, you know, the borough, you know, putting up obstacles and, you know, I don't know what happened there, but like, it's hard to believe that we have a vacant lot. And this is like the main street that people come in on and you see this.
We're working on that as well.
Working on it. Okay. All right. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mike?
Michael Lane. One thing I forgot to mention under communications. There's a letter that was addressed to Mayor and Council from the Keyport Unified Planning Board addressing items in the land use requirements 25.1 that need to be corrected. And one is to deal with the density requirements in the RA and RB districts, and the other is to deal with the parking in the downtown general commercial district. Is there any reason why this communications has failed to make it to the spot on the agenda now for a couple of months?
Mayor and council received the communication. I'm not sure if it's something that needs to be on the agenda.
As a communication.
I mean, we have to talk about these communications, because I do think it's creating confusion to the public as to what does make the agenda and does not, to your point, Mr. Lane. It seems that certain items get on, but obviously not every piece of communication that they're all receiving are getting on. So it's a conversation. You know, I don't want to rock the boat of whatever practices have gone on for years here, but it's something that is an issue of discussion, because again, there needs to be a rhyme or reason as to why communications are listed and not listed, to your point.
And the board is one of the highest ranking committees in town, higher than the recreation committee. And secondly, I gave out at a meeting, a couple of meetings ago, a map that delineated the flood zones in the borough of Keyport. George, can you?
That's on our website. Thank you for that.
I have a copy, I gave a copy to the mayor and the borough administrator, and I have a copy for all the members of council. The reason this is an issue is because we have areas in town, almost all of First Street, north properties north, on the north side of First Street. The properties on the north side of West Front Street are in a special flood hazard area. And there are requirements that have been delineated now by NJDEP and by FEMA that says there are special development rules for these areas. And these rules are codified in our flood damage prevention ordinance. And unfortunately, if you go on our borough website, our flood damage prevention ordinance that's posted is the 2015 ordinance, not the latest ordinance. We also haven't posted the site plan subdivision ordinance, which requires that you provide a site plan with well delineated flood zone boundaries. So we now have 31 West Front Street, which you passed a meeting or two ago, a developer's agreement, which is still not available to the public for unknown reasons.
Do you want me to answer that question?
Sure.
We're waiting for the developer to sign it. And when it's signed, it will be a final document, signed by the mayor, and then it will be a public document. And then a copy will be provided to you in response to your request.
It's interesting because past developer agreements were available to the public, and we made comments on them that resulted in significant changes and improvements. And I don't understand why it's being done differently for this case. Secondly, this developer cannot proceed without a floodplain development permit. It's very well delineated in our ordinances. And we haven't developed yet a floodplain development permit application form. So he can't proceed. So what's going on? In addition, and I met with the engineer and Mr. White, we don't have his drawings. You agreed, Derek, right? His drawings are incorrect.
What we agreed on was the line where he shows the flood the flood line. It, based on the elevations, it's not in the correct spot. It doesn't change the elevation, and it doesn't change the floor elevation that it's held to. But we did say we would go back to him and ask him to correct that.
But it changes the location of the building relative to flood zones, which changes all of the construction requirements. Construction requirements is dependent on the flood zone that you're in. And he may not be able to build the building as it's been approved. And I think that's got to be resolved before you sign off on this developer's agreement. If you look at the pictures that you were just handed out, there's a B zone, and adjacent to the B zone is an AE zone, and that AE zone comes up to the back of the existing buildings. So somewhere between the B zone and the AE zone is a limit of moderate wave action. And that limit of moderate wave action, if part of the building, any part of the building, is on the B zone side of the limit of moderate wave action, you have a whole set of construction requirements that this present plan does not meet. And so, we need, before you sign this agreement, you need to get the floodplain manager to, and you need to get from the engineering firm, a floodplain development permit application, because it's in a special flood hazard area. You need to get that application you need to have the floodplain manager review it and decide whether the building can be constructed or can't be constructed as designed.
Okay. Thank you,
Now-
Michael.
We have had,
Michael, we're gonna cut that to the 5 minutes. You're actually past it. And not that I wanna limit anybody to the 5 minutes, but we also have.
you've had two cases now in the borough where projects in the special flood hazard area were, quote, approved by our construction office and had to be stopped in midstream after all the construction teams were there, all the lifts were there, everything. And the borough was threatened with lawsuits because you didn't deal with it ahead of time.
Mr. Lane, like your comments, which are very helpful in this regard, have been, we've talked to our engineers about it, they're aware of your issues, and they're in dealing with the construction office, will make sure that any permit or anything that will not be issued unless it's appropriate.
But you're signing a developer's
The
agreement.
developer's agreement, again, we'll go back to the purpose of a developer's agreement. The purpose of this developer's agreement is so that when the application, the permit application is filed, and our engineers are required to go above and beyond to make sure that they're reviewing it in addition with the construction code office to make sure all the concerns you're raising are addressed and concerned, that the Borough of Keyport is not paying for those costs. That cost will be reimbursed by the developer. So that's what we're trying to do with the developer's agreement. The developer's agreement does not give the I know you, I hope you don't think this, the fact that they approved the developer's agreement does not give that developer a blank check to go ahead and develop without going through the regular processes. It's intended to create this framework in which those reimbursements can be provided. That's what we're doing. The developer's agreement is not these members of council deciding if it's appropriate under the code, if it's appropriate under the flood, the map that you're giving us, the floodplain management plan. That's not the decision they're making. Language is in this developer's agreement that clearly states that the developer must abide by all the laws that you cite, that you haven't cited, that the code enforcement cites. So that's what the developer's agreement does. So let's let the process play out. We'll continue. You've given us dialogue. You've had a meeting with our engineers. They're aware of the concerns that you've raised because you have this very in-depth knowledge that we appreciate. And they're going to be thinking of that when they work with the construction code office. Does that make sense to?
Yes. Madam, if I may,
Yes.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Lane, all of your concerns with this flood hazard area is valid, but I would suggest that you go in front of the Uniform Planning Board and Zoning Board and voice your concerns, because that's where it should be resolved, not here. Not here. It should be resolved under the review. And you've got to go to them and make sure that they do their due diligence in making sure that these issues are addressed before they give them a final approval, or it's recommended that a final approval is given.
I've gone before the planning board multiple times over the last 20 years to point out when you deal with a project that's in the special flood hazard,
Mr. Lane.
you have to have a floodplain
Mr.
manager.
Lane, can you direct
part
your
of the
comments,
project.
Mr. Lane? Can you direct your comments to the chair? And let me add one more thing. I did look at those planning board meeting minutes on this project, and those issues were not raised. The issues on this project that were raised were parking. Because, you know, I did look at it even before we started drafting the developer's agreement, looking at that. So let's keep an eye on this project. We have the message, we have the memo, we have to keep an eye on it. And the people that are involved in making this decision will. The council members are not the board in this municipal government charged with making those decisions. And let's not put that burden on them because that's not where it lies.
Mike, I'm actually going to stop this because it's actually going.
Just one moment, please. That's the same advice that the planning board attorney gives to the board. Those are issues that will be dealt with by the construction office. So the board doesn't deal with them either. If you look at the minutes or recording of the meeting.
Mr. Lee, we could talk about this offline, and I don't want to redo, and nor does this council, is it going to infringe upon what the planning board does or doesn't do?
I want to think it's a great news that you're gonna have a monthly engineer's report. Because I'm really looking forward to seeing when we're gonna get the crosswalks on First Street and when we're gonna get the four-way stops. And
Okay, Mike,
tremendous-
I'm actually cutting you off now.
and-
Thank you.
And I look forward to getting a status report
Andrew.
from the borough administrator on all the other documents.
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peters. Just a quick question about documents that come before the council for a vote. Aren't they supposed to be available to the public when, at the meeting, at the very least?
Documents that come before us for what reason?
For approval, resolutions?
Resolutions are.
Yeah.
So when you vote on a resolution to approve a developer's agreement, that doesn't have to be present? Just the resolution,
The resolution, correct.
not the actual
No.
document? Okay, all right,
No,
thank you.
Thank you, Elmer.
Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. Few things. First of all, Madam Mayor, when's the flea market coming back to our beautiful borough?
They actually have submitted information to us, which will be on the next council meeting.
Okay, yeah, because we should have it back. It helps, like I said, what helps our businesses, and our beautiful borough deserves it. Second thing, I know I've asked this a few times.
They haven't returned my call.
The American Legion, okay, and the Veterans Committee, all right. And one last thing, I'm gonna bring this up again and again. I go to this place 2 to 3 times a week. It's called We Care Adult Care Center in Middletown, Red Bank, New Jersey. They have an outstanding staff. They help people out there, especially people with advanced stages of Alzheimer's disease. It's an adult care facility. As a matter of fact, they're on Facebook. And if you just want to look it up and everything like that. Any Keyport Borough residents that need to go to an adult daycare center, that's it. That's the
We
place
have
to go.
delivered all of the pamphlets
Yes.
to the senior center, I believe last council meeting, right? Michelle?
And
And I believe there's some out in our kiosk also.
like I said, I volunteer there and they help me out too, so, and they have an outstanding staff that's second to none. They're outstanding. I highly recommend it. Thank you.
Jack?
Jack Straub, 235 Main Street. I think I have 28 seconds left. I need to correct myself. When I asked the council members about the abstentions, I thought you had abstained to the 2 communications. You actually abstained to the minutes. Obviously, you weren't here. That was right after the communications. I thought the vote was on communications. That's why I asked that question.
Thank you.
you.
You made it in 28 seconds.
Give Mr. Wallen my 5.
Yeah, can I have 10 minutes from 5 to 10? No, I'm only kidding. We're voting for Second Street. Has you guys gone over to 31 to just look at their structure?
In terms of inspecting the...
That you said you would go there and check the buildings out at the last
No,
council meeting?
once we were provided with the letter from the developer's professional that condemned it, there's no need for us to inspect it.
So this is the developer that's 30 years friends with this gentleman?
I don't know.
No, they stated that here.
Their professional architect issued a letter that stated that the building was not safe to occupy.
Okay.
Once that letter is issued, there's not a professional that's going to come in and contradict that letter.
Next question. Can somebody please check and see the last C of O that was issued to those 2 buildings? Because then we let this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Anybody else? Give a motion to close to the public? Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're actually, on our agenda, we have the adjournment and then closed session. We're moving into the closed session first, and then we'll adjourn afterwards.
No action.
Welcome back, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
One second, everybody. Just so they know.
Sit down, everybody. What are we gonna sit down for?
Certain specified purposes authorized by resolution and whereas it is necessary for the borough to discuss in session on open public attorney-client privilege matters related to potential litigation pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B7 or personnel matters pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B8. Now therefore be resolved by the mayor and council of the borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey as follows. Before mentioning the titles or appropriate herein, the borough fully set forth at length, the mayor and council will assemble in public session on April 18, 2023, and determine that an executive session closed in public shall be held on April 18, 2023, at approximately 9:20 p.m. The Borough Hall located at 70 West Front Street, Newport, New Jersey, for discussion related to the matters identified. This resolution will take effect immediately. May I have a motion?
Clemens.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.